Welcome, everybody. This is our little book movie club called Read.Watch.VENT. If you're watching us on Twitch, you probably usually watch our Dungeons & Dragons, but this is our little side project so that we can do, you know, the nerdy book movie stuff that most of us really like to do when we're not playing D&D. So, Emily and Aaron are joining me today. They're not usually on our games, but they are fabulous actresses, voice actresses, writers, and directors that are working on their own stuff sort of all over the country. And they're joining me for our little discussion. So tonight we are discussing Infinite, which is a movie with Mark Wahlberg in it, and the book that it is based on, the Reincarnationist Papers. And we have very strong opinions about this book movie adaptation. There will be lots of venting in this episode because this is one that we all are like, I don't even know what happened. Okay. But before we get this, so if you've seen it and you want to come and join us venting about it, you're more than welcome to. If you haven't, I'm just going to say it right now. There will be spoilers. We're not worried about spoiling this for anybody. We're just going to save you the watching it. And yeah. Okay, but before we get to that, ladies, do you want to tell everybody what you've been up to the last couple weeks and what projects you have in the pipeline?
Totally. So I am working on an indie film called Joey Witten is a Big Stupid Idiot and I Hate Him. And we are starting production in 3 weeks, which is insane and wild. We're going to be road tripping to Maine, which is a grand old time. And then after that, in November and December, I'm going to be performing in a live theater performance of The Polar Express, which is going to be so fun and Christmassy and a great time. So yeah, I'm really excited for the rest of this year.
That's awesome. Aaron?
I took a note out of your book because I was like, shit, I just want to do something after. What can pay me money that can be actory? And I found this, it's weird because it's like a theatrical experience / cocktail party / kind
Is this the Dinner Detective?
No, this is not.
Okay.
I've wanted to get onto Dinner Detective though.
I did Dinner Detective for a bunch of years and it is great. All you actors watching right now, they're a super fun company to work for. You get paid to do a show that's like half improv, half scripted. And if you're not an actor and you just want a fun night out, it's great. It's super fun.
Well, this is called House of Spirits and it started in LA and now they're touring it. Do you know it?
I have heard of House of Spirits, but I've never seen it.
Yes. Well, it's an experience. And the character that I am apparently doing, if I looked up the correct pictures, she's like hoodoo horns and flowers and it's wild. I'll send you pictures.
Cool.
And the other thing that I'm working on that I was going to tell you about that is just table read at the moment, but developing. I'm a space detective. Wakes up from being cryogenically frozen to solve a murder.
Amazing.
Stage film? What's that?
It's going to be filmed, short filmed, if it
Sounds
goes
fun.
beyond said table read.
Cool.
So I'm just saying, Space Detective is the working title.
Hey, Infinite got made, so you know.
Yeah. Oh, it did.
I told the ladies, I'm like, usually they're all cuted up, and usually I have some sort of makeup on, but I was like, I'm not getting dressed up for Infinite.
We're a feminist show. You can wear whatever the heck you want.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my coffee or I murder you shirt. So, you know.
What are you doing, Chloe?
Well, if you guys want to come see me in my long form improv group, we do like whole stories. We just improvise like a 45-minute play. And our Halloween show is coming up at Rise Comedy Club in Denver if you are in town. That's going to be October 29th, I believe at 8 o'clock. And we are my group is called Streaky Bacon, and it's from a quote from Dickens, so it is actually really intelligent, but you'll have to come to the show for us to explain it. Our Halloween show is going to be called Creepy Bacon. So you'll just have to come see it.
Amazing.
Love it.
So yeah, that's us. All right. So before we dive into our discussion, of this story that happened in front of our eyes. 30-second summary, girls.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the book or the movie?
Pick one. Pick one because yes, I definitely started the movie and I was like, where's the car chase? Who is this? What was I reading? Yeah, I was scared that I had given everybody the wrong movie, and then I looked it up again and I was like, nope, I gave everybody the right movie. That's it.
Dude, I was too.
Okay, so Erin, you do the book. Emily, you do the movie.
Okay, so book, you have a dude who meets this lady and finds out, that he remembers all of his past lives, all two of them. So they go on this journey to meet a bunch of other people who are reincarnationists who are super freaking old. And then he steals a painting and then he dies in jail. So it's much, much different
than what I'm about to tell you.
All right, Emily, go with the movies.
There's lots of drugs and lots of sex because apparently when you can live all the lies, you don't give a fuck about being healthy.
They're basically vampires, guys.
Eat all the gluten. Heroin, opium, absolutely.
Yep.
So similar concept in the movie in terms of people reincarnate, have past lives. That is about the only similarity other than there's a guy named Evan. And in this story, he meets none of the same characters, but the big plot is that there are good people who reincarnate and then there's a bad guy and he is wanting to do a Thanos snap on the world and basically disintegrate everyone because he's just tired of living. And so he thinks if he kills everyone, there will be no one to reincarnate into. So through a series of very excessive car chases, explosions, and things that are in no way physically possible, they try to stop him from doing that.
Yep. That's about it. That's
Chloe.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, like, usually I like to pull themes because usually you can pull themes from like the book to the movie and you cannot. So we're just going to discuss these separately as two separate works of fiction because that is what they are. They are two separate works of fiction.
I just want to do like a Venn diagram first. Like mention every single thing that you could possibly think is similar between the two.
They're both about this idea of reincarnation, which is super broad because there are whole religions about reincarnation. So it's not really a unifying factor. They're both about a dude named Evan. There are probably
his last name.
Several million people named Evan, and yes, he didn't even keep his last name. He's a different age in the movie as he is in the book. In the book, he's like 20.
Very different.
In the movie, he's Mark Wahlberg age.
He's Mark Wahlberg age.
And they both have secret societies where all the reincarnationist people get together and do drugs and have sex.
Yes. Which are not even named the same.
No.
I just want people to know that
That's true.
It said based on the reincarnation. They should have either put it shouldn't have
inspired by?
Yeah.
Inspired by. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, okay, so going to like how this whole thing started because it's kind of a cool story actually. So the author, who I always mess up his name. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me get my notes.
Severely disappointed by the movie that was supposed to be about his book.
I don't know. He got a Mark Wahlberg sized paycheck, so I'm sure he's not that disappointed.
Yeah.
It's D. Eric Maikranz. So he is a travel writer. He is a computer programmer. And then he wrote this book. And his book actually has a lot of like little, like when I saw that he was a travel writer, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So there's so many little cool vignettes in the book about like, oh, so-and-so was in the French Revolution and so-and-so was in the Spanish, like was a conquistador and so-and-so was in Japan. Like there are all of these very cool little vignettes that are very, very atmospheric and just written with a big sense of place. So he wrote this book And he put in the front of it, like, hey, anybody who can help me get in front of a movie producer and this gets made, you're getting 10% of my advance. So that's how he got his pitch, which I'm like, props to you, mister. That is ballsy. I wish everybody would do that. Like, I don't care how good your book is. If you're going to set a bounty on your book to be like, this is good enough to be a movie. I don't know if it is or not, but I want to be in the room and I want to talk about it. That is the chutzpah that every artist should have about everything that they make. I love that energy.
I love that energy. Why? I'm positive that this is not what he meant when he said that. When he wrote that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of comments on what there's not a lot on his page, his like Wikipedia page about what he thinks of the movie. So
I want to know if he has regrets.
I don't know. I feel like with this, he handed it over to a couple of screenwriters, and they just ran with the idea of reincarnating.
They went, okay, I want to make an action movie though.
I honestly wonder how much of that was the writers and how much of that was Mark Wahlberg being like, but guys, can I drive a car?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I really want to be in a Fast and Furious franchise movie, but I can't be. How close can we make this to a Fast and Furious movie?
Okay, here's another fun game because I was clocking them all over the place. Name every single action movie trope that was in that you can think of.
Oh, of course. Everyone is hot. Everyone is the hottest person ever.
Everyone is white.
Yes.
Except for the bad guy.
Except for the villain.
The villain, and then that one girl. There was like one mixed guy and then one Asian girl, and then the bad guy was black.
And the women's entire personality revolves around the men that they're attached to. They don't have their own personality. There's one character that is kind of like the sidekick to the villain. I don't think she has a single line in the movie at all.
No,
she says she's Grok level. She's Grok level, like just
yeah.
Yeah. There is always that female sidekick to the villain that like no one knows who their name is, knows what their purpose is, other than to be someone for the villain to talk to lay out their evil plan.
He even says at one point, there's a line where Mark Wahlberg's character is asking her about her past lives, and she says, "It's not my memories that matter, it's yours," because nothing else matters in this movie except for this white man saving the world.
In fairness, this white man is not super excited about saving the world, nor does he feel particularly important by it, nor does he really have a personality. So all the women who are wrapped up in him, he doesn't really like.
Guys, can we talk about the fact that this woman came up to him, he got pulled over. Okay, katana sword fight and shootout is how you start out the movie. Then you get a tank piling through your police station.
Mexico City. Mm-hmm.
The police station.
In the 70s, I think that was supposed to be the 70s.
It's confusing though, because all of the technology is still really futuristic. So the timelines don't really make sense.
It would have had to have been the 70s though.
They were saying that whatchamacallit, his old Frederick dude, the dude before was like from the 50s, and I'm like,
that was not the 50s. He was on a high-tech crane. Yeah. They showed 3 past lives that all looked like they were taken within the last 40 years. So I'm not quite sure how you. I don't really. So that's the other thing. The movie. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Let's talk about characters, and then we're going to talk about plot structure. So because we're kind of on the characters. Okay. Mark Wahlberg's character in the movie is distinctly different from Evan's character in the book.
Yes.
Evan's character in the book is very like he's a teenager. It's almost like a coming of age story. It's like this sort of
one. He's 21.
He's a baby.
Yes. He is a baby.
So bye. 21. Excuse
21.
me.
He's also a professional arsonist, which I think is a cool fact that could have been translated very well into an action movie, but it was not mentioned at all.
No, because they replaced it with swords. They're like, you know what would be so much cooler than an emotional connection of fire to fire throughout all of these past lives? Some swords in Japanese swords. That's what it is. Katana.
I felt like that was very strange in the movie, just in terms of like an artistic direction, because in the book, it's incredibly multicultural, which makes sense, right? Because these people are reincarnating. Caucasian people make up like what, less than 20% of humanity. Right. I think it's like 15%, 8%, something like that. Like there's not very many of us. So the book is like full of all kinds of different people.
Yeah, and gender and
like
and then the movie was like everybody reincarnates as a white person from America and a few from the UK.
Yeah. Yes. And they're all in their same gender that they are in the current timeline, which in the book they talk about how gender is a lot more fluid because throughout your past lives you've been male and female. And so that's a big thing. And so it's kind of funny in the movie how you keep seeing conveniently these characters as their past selves. They're also a hot white 25-year-olds.
Well, but the other thing, as he was like flashing back through his lives, he had been other ethnicities, but like as it went back, all of his other ethnicities were primitive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like this
like Japanese samurai.
He was a samurai. He was a like a Native American warrior.
Mm-hmm. He was Aztec, probably Aztec.
He was also an Aztec warrior. He was both, which is odd. It was weird. It was like they were trying to bring in additional cultures, but it wasn't done in a way that was meaningful.
Or it was like a flash on the screen for 2 seconds. Yeah.
Let's see. The women. How the women differed a lot from the book to the movie.
Yeah.
Poppy. Go ahead.
Can we? I want to talk about Poppy.
Yeah.
So, who was Poppy in this book? She was the lady that found our little baby boy, Evan, who has a long, long history of lives doing all sorts of wild things. She's Asian and gorgeous and has a giant back tattoo that's badass and is sexually curious, like explorative. I don't know. She's wild. She's a wild.
She's old and she's like, I'm gonna live my life.
Yeah,
I'm gonna live it.
And she also has this really cool detail about being a very experienced stained glass maker. She's one of the few people in the world who possesses this skill, and it's because in her past lives she was trained doing that, and so she's kept that skill throughout her life. And so it's really cool. She lives in a church. She's a very interesting character, and there is no Poppy in the movie, and there's no main character that is Asian, and it's really confusing because it's like she was kind of like a really cool character in the book and very, had a lot of interesting elements to her, and she was not at all in the movie.
Did you love her? Did you hate her? Did you love to hate her? Did you hate to love her?
I kind of wanted to be her, but also I was a little disappointed that she kind of just dropped off the story.
Yeah.
Which is partly because the book was written, I feel like, as just like this guy's life, and life doesn't really follow like a 3-act or 4-act structure. So it kind of makes sense because they have a falling out that's kind of a little bit natural. Because he's just not as kinky as she is, basically.
Oh my god!
They're just like, no! I draw the line in orgies. I can't do it.
Oh, that boy was so afraid.
It sounds like there were a lot of men in that orgy, and I don't know many guys who can handle that.
They're all described as being in jerseys, and I'm like, shit, did she get an entire rugby team in there?
Yeah, Poppy was out there living truly her best life up to that moment. Because like we said, like she's lived for centuries and centuries. She's like, I mean, might as well do a bunch of drugs and have all the sex.
Yeah. Do we feel like there's a corollary between these like infinite people and vampires?
Yeah, I could see that.
Like just like ageless, especially with their like counsel and everything.
Yes, yeah,
totally. Brutally murders you if you answer wrong.
Well, right. We're talking book. We're talking book. We need to clarify when we're talking book or movie.
Sorry, book. In the book. Well, and I mean in the movie too. I feel like the corollary is less in the movie. In the movie, it's more like we're just supercharged people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the movie, vampires is. I was imagining like the Twilight, you know, where the Twilight Volturi.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very Volturi. Yeah.
That's what I was imagining. So there was one other thing. So I think that the katana sword, the fact that he was able to create these katanas in this very old style, maybe that was a tribute to the stained glass thing. And then
and the gold masks.
And the gold I guess that's how they brought that in, but it was what was the other thing that you said that I was thinking of that I'm like, I guess that kind of relates into here?
Vampires?
No, it was something you were saying, Emily, while you were talking about Poppy. We can move along. I'll figure it out.
If you get it, we'll come back to it. Yeah. So what do we feel like is the theme of this book? And then did the movie have a theme, or was the theme just Mark Wahlberg drives cool stuff?
That's a good question. I'm going to pause 2 seconds because I just remembered what it was. Poppy, another cool thing about Poppy, she had this whole attitude of like pretty much regular humans kind of suck. Like she was pissed off at them for having faith and stuff like that. And so I guess she's a sort of like, they tried to take her point of view and put it into the nihilists and make it into they just took all these tiny little things that could possibly work.
Yeah. The book I feel like went in and like went into actual philosophy of like existence and why we're here, and like all these Evan encounters all these people with these different perspectives that have been honed over generations and over living through multiple cultures and being in multiple religious perspectives. And you do get like that discussion of the nihilism and all that, but you don't really get a discussion of the philosophical side of it in the movie. They just sort of do a lot of exposition.
Yeah, it's not so can you hear me correctly? I thought I was hearing myself talking back. We were talking about themes though.
Yes.
Themes and things like that. And I think that this leads into the themes and the fact that in the movie they tried to make a good guy and a bad guy because it's an action movie. Of course they're going to have a good guy and a bad guy. But in the book, they mentioned that all of the past incarnations, like they all had their good and their bad sides, their compulsions that were just not
healthy.
Not healthy. And they each individual that Evan closely encountered, they all somehow had some story of like something that just it was a bad decision they made.
Yeah.
Or a bad decision they saw someone else make.
Yeah.
Or something where life went wrong like life does and it stuck with them. And I was going to go into themes on this, but
no. I think that's a great theme. That idea of like encountering those obstacles and what do you do with them? And if you're going to live infinite lives, you're going to encounter them over and over again. So do you do the same thing, or do you move forward, and what does that do?
Like the old guy.
What?
you get stuck like Clovis, the older man.
Right.
So this idea that after a certain amount of time, having done, like the idea of having done everything so that there was a very, very old character who was the oldest out of all of them.
Yeah.
And it was found he lived this very solitary lifestyle that Evan at first was like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so nice. This is so chill. And then he found he was writing the exact same thing over and over and over again on a piece of paper, like good old Jack. Except all work and no play does not make Clovis a sane person. Evan ran away because, like, but do you think it would be possible? Do you think it would actually be possible to say, I've done it all. I'm done. I'm just going to sit in a corner and write the same thing over and over again and live in solitude and somehow find happiness through that?
I think it might depend on your mental state. Like, because you could decide that today. Like, you could be like, I'm done. I've done everything I ever thought about doing.
Yeah.
Did you know that it's possible to, like, visit Antarctica? Maybe not. You know, did you know that it's possible to go? Did you know there are entire, like, ziggurats and stuff in South Africa that can be visited to this day? Like, some of the oldest civilizations there, maybe not. But if you're like, if your perspective is just what you've experienced and you're limited to not very much,
there's not much in the world for you to imagine for your life.
Yeah. I feel like you're a little in control of that. And I feel like it does get harder or different when you get older. We're all very young. And that changes. Age does change perspective.
Yes, 'tis true.
But I feel like I've heard from older people that age is also like a state of mind. Like, if you stop, you stop.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary. Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Eventually, people just die because they're just done.
Yeah, at the end of, spoiler alert, of course, and Aaron kind of already said this, but at the end of the book, Evan ends up going to prison for an art heist, which was kind of a weird subplot.
It was a very odd subplot.
Yeah. He gets 25 years in this, I forgot where it is.
Tunis.
Yeah. But it's kind of a hellhole prison where he's
bad.
And another detail about the book I feel like we should mention, in the author's note, the author says, this is a manuscript that I found. It was some notebooks that I found in an antique store. And in the end of the book, the only thing that Evan can do is write in these notebooks. And he gives them to his cellmate, who is going to get out way earlier than he is. And he's like, hold these for me in case he doesn't tell him this, but in case my reincarnated self ever like come
finds you.
To find you. So it's kind of a cool, like, when you're reading the book, you're like, is this a real story? Like, did this guy actually find these manuscripts in an antique store? No.
I also like that as like a nod. Like, that's a really great way to be like, as an author, to just be like, I think I'm done telling this story, but it's not really structured like a normal story.
Yeah, it doesn't have a clear like beginning and middle in it. It's like you said, it's like just this guy's life.
So it's just these notebooks, which makes it it's still very engaging for the reader, but it's not structured the way you expect a novel to be structured in a lot of ways.
I like that you framed it as it being like written like some guy's life, because I thought about it when I was thinking of it story-wise, as in structurally, where I'm like, okay, they spend a lot of time in this one place and there's a lot of detail and exposition, and they spend a lot of time in this place, and then they have this one climactic event happen in about this much time. You have you can't see my fingers on the screen. You have this much exposition, and then you spend this much time on this, and then you get that much out of the most climactic event. And I'm like, what? And then he died.
Yeah, it does make it more difficult to read. It's not it's not like the most engaging book I've ever read. I think it's kind of stilted at times because it's not super, it doesn't have an amazing flow. And so I think that it was cool to have these vignettes of like seeing what the past lives were like. It was like nice to sort of see all the history of it. It also made it like, we're jumping back between so many times, and it's like, whose past life are we talking about? Like when it was I think it was Louis, the French guy who was one of Poppy's past lives. I kept thinking it was Evan, and I was just getting all them mixed up.
No, because he switched between, like, there were some characters who would tell their past life stories like as dialogue, and then there were other ones where it was like
300 years ago.
Yeah. 300 years ago.
Yeah. I feel like calling it like a collection of vignettes actually works really well for what this book is. And I know that there's a lot of other very highbrow literary books that have been very successful as vignettes. I don't feel like the writing is on that level. Mm-hmm. But if you're the kind of person who really likes historical fiction and who really likes like philosophical discussion, loosely based in actual philosophy and actual religious theory, then I think you'd probably get a lot out of this. It's just, it slows the story down. Mm-hmm. And I think the only thing that drives it forward is the fact that I was at least marginally interested in Evan. I wasn't super like engaged in what was going to happen to him because I just didn't feel like anything bad was going to happen to him. I was just like, I think he's fine. And they point out like 2/3 of the way through the book, you're like, if anything bad happens to you, just kill yourself. You'll come back. It's fine. And I was like, oh, that turns life into a video, like literally a video game. And you can just be like, poop, I'm done.
Yeah.
Which would have been a little bit of an interesting thing to explore, I think, a little bit more than just as like the button on the end.
Because it's literally his get out of jail free card. I mean, he knows he'll come back, and you know, I'm sure for different people that's like it can be a positive or a negative thing. Like if you know you're going to come back, then there's a lot less fear associated with dying. But then again, if you're like the character and the bad guy in the movie where he was like tired of living all these lives, then it's like this monotonous endless cycle of life and not really death. Then it's like death is not an end for you, and so there's no comfort in that because you're just going to come back. And
hopping over to the movie, I feel like that was an odd way to do the adaptation because the bad guy got all of this like philosophy about why he hates living and whatnot, and then the good guys were just like, but faith, have faith in people. And I'm like, but why?
Because
people objectively suck. Why?
The whole thing is they kept using the word faith. They kept using the word faith, which we all know the general term of when you just say the word faith, what we're referring to is something religious, versus in the book, they're talking entirely about how when you're reincarnated this many times, religion is basically invalid.
Meaningless.
It's meaningless because you're not there. You know what's on the other side. It's just another version of this. Like, which is what bugged me so much about that. And the other thing that bugged me, because like obviously this entire movie just bugged me because I was like, this is nothing like the book. And of course,
little detail girl was like, there's not even details for me to nitpick. Yeah. There's nothing.
There are no details, which bugged the shit out of me.
So yeah. So the good super short summary of how this movie goes. There's a car chase, and then we get to Mark Wahlberg, who's a schizophrenic guy who makes swords in his spare time, even though he's dirt poor and regularly has psychotic breaks. And then
somehow he has an entire like blacksmith workshop.
Yes, he does.
I'm screaming right now in my apartment.
I saw that and I was like, is this his job? Oh no, this is his hobby. This is his hobby. He makes katanas for drug dealers. Yeah. Got it? Okay. And then they like, he makes a perfect katana and all of a sudden the reincarnates are like, oh, he's there. So they all go find him because they somehow know about the sword
that's being sold to a drug dealer.
I think it must have been logged into the police station or something. They found it. I think they do a throwaway. Anyway, they find him because of the sword and they're like, oh my God, he's the chosen one. And he's like, no, I'm not. And he just spends the entire time being sarcastic, but he gets to drive these crazy cars and he gets to learn how to be a samurai again for some reason. And when the other guy is shooting, first of all, the other guy is shooting guns. But Mark Wahlberg is like, I'm going to learn to be a samurai again. And then...
block all the bullets.
Fruit ninja that shit.
and then he goes on and there's like 45 minutes of exposition where they like, it's like a walk and talk. It's like an Aaron Sorkin show without the pithy dialogue. They're just like, all right, and here's the place where we train you to do this. And then they train him to do that. And here is the tank where we will reinvigorate your memories, okay? And then they do that. And here is the place where you will see all the pictures of me and I am your lover. Do you not notice this? And then here is, and it's like,
it's not even,
just let the movie happen. Just let people do things. Let people do things.
For like an hour and a half, it's Mark Wahlberg being like, I don't know what's going on, but they're telling me, I guess it's true.
I guess I'm important. I gotta save the world, guys.
That's a big difference between, I feel like, Evan's mindset in the book versus the movie. Is in the book, he knows that he is reincarnated. And he knows this about himself at the age of 21. For some reason, in the movie, at the age of 50 or whatever Mark's age is, he has no idea. He's been diagnosed as schizophrenic, which their portrayal of that is just a little bit problematic. And he doesn't know this thing about himself. And so he's just going through life, just having these memories, but he doesn't know what they mean. And so they find him. Another question, why did it take them so long to find him? If he's like been around for
this. It's not the first sword he's made.
Yeah, no.
He's
in the secret society.
So okay, my favorite one though, let's talk stunts really quick because there were some absurd.
Absolutely. That's the thing you watch this movie for is they put a lot of money into it and it shows. It has some awesome special effects. And so
Aaron's like, I don't care.
Here's the thing. I'm still yelling. Oh my God.
Hold on. Let Emily finish saying how she likes stuff.
If you like to see explosions, which sometimes like I just want that immediate gratification. I want to see some kick-ass stuff. And it's like absolutely absurd. Defies all physics.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that they were like, okay, what's the best scene in every action movie you've ever seen? And let's recreate that. Mm-hmm. And it's not even like, oh, it's part of an action movie. It was, I saw the director going, yes, this would be so cool right here.
Lobby scene in The Matrix? Yes, we're doing that.
Yeah.
We're doing
jumping onto an airplane with a motorcycle. We're doing that.
I literally paused the movie. I ran to my boyfriend. I was like, you're not going to believe what just happened. And I showed him the scene. I was like,
jumped onto the airplane on his motorcycle, fell. The motorcycle falls off, blows up into the engine, is sliding down, uses his katana sword to somehow bury it into the wing of the airplane. I'm sorry, katanas are really long. I don't know how you just pull one out of your jacket and go like that.
Also, he's then magic?
He's
magic. He's the only one that's magic. He magically stands up on the wing, guys. He magically stands up on the wing because he finally realizes his inner power. I don't really know, but the bad guy is like, it can't be. And this is the one moment when we don't get any exposition to explain what the heck just happened.
No, because we kind of see it. This is another part of the plot. He is like reincarnated as this guy that was like ready to defeat the evil guy, but then that guy died. And so at the whole movie, when they're trying to like find Evan, they're like, you are the reincarnation of this guy. Like, we know you have the thing in your brain to stop this guy. So
to stop the bad guy. The bad guy wants basically a bomb that's going to destroy the world. And old reincarnated Evan knew where he hid it.
Yes.
He hid the egg from the bad guy. And so they're trying to find the egg.
And Conan O'Brien does this amazing car chase scene in Mexico City. And then he's like, where do I put the egg? Let me insert it into my abdomen. And he does. And it's kind of gross. Yeah. And
they kept this guy's body just randomly. They randomly kept this guy's body. And they say they have been doing studies on it so that they could understand how reincarnation works. And they didn't know that he had a metal egg the size of a kidney over his kidney?
X-ray, dude.
Did you not do any CAT scans? What? Did you not notice there was a fresh incision when you found his body?
Right. Like, it's not like his skin just healed over in 2 minutes. Like,
he took a freaking cigarette lighter and cauterized the slash in his abdomen that he cut himself with his switchblade, folks. Like, come on.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm still yelling.
I wish.
There's lots to yell about.
I wish that this movie knew what it was. Because one of my favorite movie franchises, period, Transformers and Fast and Furious movies. I love both of those franchises. They're amazing and they're stupid. Like, it's not great acting. It's not great storylines. They're very broad, but they know exactly what they are, and they deliver it. And I feel like this one wanted to be like part philosophical treatise,
yes,
part Fast and the Furious 12, and you cannot be those two things.
I feel like it was the left brain and the right brain were separated and both like two people trying to write the script together. One being like, I want freaking explosions, and the other one being like, but the good of humanity.
Yeah, I bet you anything this one had producers like in it. Like, this isn't gonna sell. Like, change it.
We have Mark Wahlberg. We need to have a plane rotating tumble shot.
Yes.
Them falling and fighting through the sky in a free fall.
Sorry, Emily. We both talked over you.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say, this movie, it was only like 90 minutes and maybe a little longer. And I feel like with another half hour or 45 minutes, it could have done a lot more to hold your horses. It could have done a lot more to explore the philosophical elements, and they could throw in another car chase. In my opinion, I am very glad it was not any longer than what it was.
I know, I started falling asleep.
Here's the thing. It did need 45 extra minutes of that, but they could have cut the 45 minutes of exposition that they did not need.
Yeah, they really did
that.
There were all these like Rocky-esque training scenes, and it's like, I think one of you said earlier, like, why did we need to? That's what always confuses me, and I know this is a trope about action movies, is like when you have all of the weapons in the world that can blast you to smithereens, and the main character is training with a sword. I know it's supposed to be like, oh, I'm so amazing, I can swipe everything away, I can defy physics, but it just doesn't like make any sense.
It didn't happen in this movie. He swipe away a bullet with his katana. It didn't happen. In fact, he literally stands there and gets hit with a bullet in the back of his head, and just by dumb luck, because he has a metal plate in his head, it doesn't go in.
Oh, I'm alive.
Plate is being an excuse for him not remembering, rather than being like, we hired Mark Wahlberg to play a 21-year-old.
In fairness, they never in the movie say he's supposed to be 21. They don't say that.
But the story.
His paramour is definitely a lot younger than him. as per usual.
Oh my god, if they've been searching for him for years, she must have been like 14 when she realized who she was.
Like we said, guys, the timelines don't really match up.
In love with that other guy? Wasn't she supposed to be in love with Abel? Like, we all think she had the feelings for Marky Mark.
Because there can't be a woman with a movie. I mean, a movie with a woman unless there's sexual tension. So despite her entire life's purpose being to find her lover from a past life, she still has to give Mark the little bedroom eyes, if you know what I mean.
That is all she gives him. He doesn't get an actual bedroom. It's just the bedroom eyes. And
yeah.
You know what else killed me is that, okay, there were multiple things written into the script that, number one, Marky Mark, when that lady says, who is just blown through in a tank, the police station that he has been locked in, she says, "Get in," and he immediately goes, "Okay."
No questions asked.
When she starts telling him all this crazy shit of, you're reincarnated, you remember things, you have skills, you know languages that you didn't know you had. He's like, well, I guess I'm reincarnated. Let's go. And then every time there are multiple circumstances where he either nearly dies or other people die in the thing, and she's the one going, oh no, they're dying. You come back.
All of you all come back.
In this life, guess what? They're coming back in the next one. All you have to do is wait another 15 years.
I did not catch that because I was too busy waiting for her to try to kiss him to wake him up out of the thing. Which, let's be real, 100% is a thing that was probably in this script at one point, and somebody cut it out because they were like, nah, that's just too far.
Yeah.
Can we just briefly...
The other thing is... One more.
Okay.
Mark, before he goes into the death drowning chamber, yes, that is one of the things. He has to have his life literally flash before his eyes to reboot his memory. There's a lot of comparisons to the soul and life being compared to hardware and microchips, which I feel like is not accurate. But he's like, I don't want to go in there, being all sarcastic and Mark Wahlberg. And then the girl walks up to him and he's like, there's no other way, is there? And she's like, yeah, but you don't have to do it. And he's like, I can't have anyone else dying for me because of my memories or something like that. And it's like, you were literally just like, I don't want to die, you dick. And now you're like, no one must suffer.
It's his hero complex coming out. He must save everyone.
It's weird because I don't know why he has a hero complex. He doesn't like people.
He just found out this about himself 20 minutes ago.
What
were you going to say, Chloe?
Well, I feel like they cast Jason Mantzoukas as the crazy doctor guy who drowns him. Mantzoukas is hilarious and got nothing funny to do.
Yeah, it's weird. It kind of feels like, you know, he was put there as the comic relief, but it doesn't really fit. And I mean, he's a good actor. Like, I mean, he's in Parks and Rec and The Good Place and stuff, The Good Place. And he's like really funny and like sort of this, I don't know, but yeah, he just didn't, it was like, why is he there?
Yeah, that was definitely, I was like, I wish, looking at the cast, I was like, maybe this is where the movie finds out what it is. And it's like, oh yeah, that this is ridiculous. And we finally have a character that's going to kind of break the fourth wall and be like, yeah, guys, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like Mark Wahlberg has been kind of trying to do, but not doing effectively at all.
And then him on the other, like, there were just so many things where the characters would speak. And it's like you realize you're contradicting your own self. Like,
there were lots of lines that like that Mark said that they were really cheesy and like silly, and like Mark Wahlberg is Mark Wahlberg, so of course he's gonna sound cool saying them. But like if anyone else said it, and this is not to say like Mark Wahlberg is the best actor, it's just like this is the type of role he plays, yes. And so he's gonna sound like what the movie wants him to sound like, because that's just what he does. He's the cool badass guy who kicks ass, I guess. So yeah, there are some interesting dialogue choices.
Bold choices.
Did you say bold choices?
Bold choices.
I like that. I like that. That is how we will.
It's
the movie had a lot of bold choices. We will leave it at that. And Roger Ebert boldly gave this movie 1/2 star. So,
indeed,
that is the boldness of, you know. Go ahead.
I just kept thinking, because like I'm like, Mark Wahlberg made his money for that day. He made his money for this movie, and now he can pay for his lovely expensive house and all those fast cars that he gets to drive in real life. And I feel like that's what this movie.
The moral of this movie is Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
got a big paycheck.
I think it was Mark Wahlberg's wet dream. That's what this movie was.
But did he want to be there? Is my question.
That is the question. I think about that.
Think about how much he had to spend in wires going like this to film the free falling scene. I keep interrupting. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I feel like the button that I want to leave on this one, and I will leave this on every movie and book slash book that we end up not really liking. This got made, and it is making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we are doing whatever we're doing, and you at home are watching this, doing whatever you're doing. And I hope that you are creating cool stuff. And if you are, please message us about it, because we want to see. But like, keep doing it, because this movie got made with a lot of money and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
You know, so publish that book, write that article, write that play, and go hustle your way to a meeting with some executive who's going to give you a check so they can make a weird movie. Just do it. And hopefully your movie ends up being good and you end up being like really proud of it. And to be perfectly honest, like I hope everybody who worked on this movie is happy with how it turned out. I don't know what it originally started out as. This might be the best version of it.
And it's fun to watch. I mean, like, it's good to see an explosion once in a while. There's not a lot of substance to it, but
it's an action movie.
Yeah.
It is an action movie.
It's not a movie based on a book.
So with that, we are going to rate these separately. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how did we like the book?
It wasn't my favorite. I would give it like a 2.5 or 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Middle of the road. I did enjoy listening to the audiobook because the guy was really good at dialects.
Oh, nice.
He had some good accents.
Yeah, fun story. We all met in a voice acting class, so yeah, I was also very happy with the reader for the audiobook.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I would give it the book a solid 3. Like,
yeah,
I probably will never read it again, but if I have a bunch of people who are fans of like philosophical sort of genre-y fiction, and I'll probably recommend it to them because it was, you know, it's an interesting concept, and it's not that long.
Really, it's a really cool concept. Yeah, for sure.
The movie.
I'm gonna lean towards that good old, what's his name?
Roger Ebert. Yeah, I feel like we might all just defer to Roger Ebert and be like, he knows what he's talking about.
Best. I feel like he knows best.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's an action movie. It's an action movie. It's just not a movie based on a book.
Yeah, it's like you put on your hat to watch a philosophical movie and get really deep and like think really hard about it, and then you put on your hat to watch like crazy car chases and explosions and fights, and it's just different. And I think it's hard because we had the pretense of the book going in, and so it's like very easy to judge it based on that. But like I said, like it was like fun to watch. Just not a lot of thinking going on up there.
Crazy whiplash from the book.
Yeah.
I feel you. It's an action movie. It is unfortunately an action movie without heart, which I think is where it falls short of the genre. Just it's never going to be a Fast and Furious movie. It's just not, because the family's not there.
Yeah, it's hard to invest in the characters. Yeah.
Well, if you have any other thoughts, please let us know in the comments. We will contact you. If you want to follow us on the social medias, you can. I am Chloe Liz 05 on most of the platforms. Emily?
I'm at Emily Wallenberg on everything except for on TikTok. I'm at The Cheesy Girl.
I am at Erin Noble on Instagram, except I believe in conserving letters. So the N on my first name and the N on my first name, or on my last name. Erin Noble, look it up. Jesus.
You'll see a picture of her. She's super cute.
Yeah.
Next month, we are going to do, just before Halloween, our Halloween episode. So we're going to be watching and reading I Know What You Did Last Summer. I have already gotten comments from a few people that book is terrible. So if you get frustrated with the book, it's really short. It's a teen horror flick. Just read it so we can discuss it. Because I'm actually really excited to discuss that genre, like a whole like growth of the slasher genre. And bring your favorite slasher horror movies and your favorite comments on those, because that's like this, it's a cultural phenomenon. Absolutely. That has grown from movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Friday the 13th and all of those. And, you know, they're dumb, campy movies that have lasted generations.
Yeah, they're cult classics for a reason.
Yep. So we're going to dig into some of the source material of cult classics, talk about cult classics, talk about scary movies. And so you should join us. We are going to be on, pull up my calendar. Okay. October 21st. Yes, October 21st. Right here, either on our Twitch channel for Uncanny Prose, or you can find us at either my Facebook page or Emily's Facebook page. And Uncanny Prose also has a YouTube channel now, so we stream there if that is your platform of choice. So, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies, do you have any last words?
Peace out.
Thanks for coming to our TED Talk, folks.
Yes. Go make that book.
Go make your book, and make sure that you put at the beginning that you will give yourself 10% to anyone who wants to make it into.
Take me to a producer. All right, guys. Peace. We'll see you next month. Oh, and you'll see me right here on Tuesday for Uncanny Creations, because we're taking a break from Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to do a cosplay makeup tutorial. Yes. So we'll see you guys Tuesday. Bye. And then if you're here for the book club next month. Bye. Bye.